Hello everyone, Zane here and welcome to my channel. Hope you're having a great day so far. So in this video, I'm finally going to be giving my thoughts on the Shadowbringers expansion. So here I am on the cliff looking down at Yulmore. I figured this is the perfect spot for this because the Yulmore was a focus point for the story. It was coming to confrontation with Vol3, and I thought the view was just like the perfect for this reflection. Alright, so this is going to be off the top of my head. To be quite honest, I don't really script my videos anyway, because I kind of know what I want to say. But this one, it's going to be my thoughts coming right from the top of my head. Alright, also, there will be spoilers for the main story, so if you have not done the main story, I highly recommend not watching this. Alright, I will be putting timestamps for all of the topics in this video, in case you guys want to hear a specific topic. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about is the music in Shadowbringers. The music was a huge thing for me in this expansion. I probably cried more times because of the music than anything else in this expansion. But I think the music was really well done, and they honestly really should have gotten a reward for their music. They always get denied every single time the Game Awards comes out. But the music in this expansion was top notch. My favorite music of the whole entire thing would probably have to be the main music of Shadowbringers. For like the areas, Critique a Great Award was my favorite because Lahi was just like in your face when you first entered for the first time. Armor Rang made me feel depressed because, well, it was a barren wasteland of an area, and what happens there was that's where the flood was stopped, and it just made me feel very alone and depressed, and I didn't like it. For everything else, the music was basic. You know, Calusia, Lakeland, Tempest, it was okay. Now the music in the extremes, that's another different story. The music in the extremes, I really liked Innocence because it was more like regal and majestic version of Shadowbringers, which I really liked. Titania, hated it. She can go fa-la-la herself to death, all I care. Ruby Weapon was pretty basic. Second phase, or the Nail Van Darnus phase, was just basically from turn 9. Seed of Sacrifice was amazing. I really enjoyed it, especially knowing that Soken wrote it while fighting for his life with cancer, which made the music even better because it came from his heart, and it really gave me another appreciation for it. Hades, very well done. I really enjoyed the rendition of that, especially in the second and third phase. Emerald Weapon, couldn't care less. Diamond Weapon, I really enjoyed that rendition of the Ultimate music. Really well done, really enjoyed it. The Near Raid, the music was okay, you know, not Final Fantasy music, but it was alright. And the Eden Raid, the music, obviously I'm a Final Fantasy VIII fan. It was my very first game of Final Fantasy I ever played, and it really brought back a lot of nostalgia for me. So the music, in my opinion, was pretty spot on this expansion. Alright, so number 2 on this list is going to be the Extreme Trials. Now, I have to say that every expansion, when I look at Extreme Trial videos, I always think Mechanical Vomit every single time. But this expansion, I really did not have too much of a hard time doing the extremes. So we're going to start from the beginning. Innocence was a very good extreme for the very first fight of the expansion. Innocence didn't give me much of a problem except for the tethers that go to you, then you have to go like to the other side of the arena, and then as the AoEs come towards you, kind of get out of the way, or else you're going to get a vulnerability up. That was the hardest part of that fight, was trying to get away from the AoEs. But Innocence by itself was not that hard of a fight for the extreme. It was pretty well done. And it was my first Guiber that I ever gotten of all the extreme fights. Now, as for Titania, she was more different. I had a really hard time with her because the brambles, because DPS goes south and I was Dragoons at the time, and every time I would try to get away from my partner with the tethers and trying to get over there to DPS, I always get stuck in between with the brambles, and because I wasn't Dancer at the time, I had to basically sit on the other side doing no damage whatsoever. It was really annoying. The lightning tethers, we had to basically share a tether and take the lightning hit. That was also difficult. And then the ad phase was the biggest roadblock of that fight, because people just were messing up too many times. Knocking back was the hard thing. Not getting knocked off the platform was another hard thing. It was a hot mess. So Titania was hard, but it wasn't that difficult for me. Going into Hades, the only problem I had with Hades was the tethers and the towers not hitting the tank was the hard part. And then when you go into his gigantic phase, on the knockback with the ice, I kept dying to that for some reason. And then the final phase with the extra flares, there was the cheese where you basically stand in one spot and then the extra flares would go around you. That I found out when I was farming. I was like, we know a black mage figured that one out in the end, so that made that fight kind of like really easy. But I just had a hard time with the knockback and the tethers in the ad phase. Other than that, the fight was pretty easy. Ruby weapon is when I switched over to Dancer, thankfully. The problem I had with the Ruby weapon was the tethers, not the tethers, the AoEs that come out of the ground, like in a spiral. That was the hard thing for me. With Dancer, it was easy because you just basically gap close while you're dodging both of them at the same time. When you had to go to the sides with 4 people and as you dash through the middle, that was a hard thing for me because, people clipping, or you get clipped by Ruby weapon. That was difficult for me. The dashes, oh my god, the dashes were a nightmare. And then I also had a problem with the mines when he puts his claws in the ground. I had a problem with that. I had a problem with everything in that fight. I actually had to do it with a Discord group when I did my first clear. But the callouts and everything really helped. And then we got my first clear with that. Next was the Seed of Sacrifice. That one was a doozy. I had a hard time with quadruple cast, remembering what was first, what was second, what was third. That was really a hard thing for me. The Warriors of Light RNG, him popping out with random Warriors of Light doing those mechanics was a little bit hard. I had a problem with the Summoner. Ninja was the hardest thing for me, trying to get arm's length, like the perfect spot to have it still be up when he does the knockback and everything. That was difficult. The Summoner was difficult. I think I said that already. But everything else was pretty easy. The Black Mage, it took a little bit of time. The Dark Knight was pretty easy to take care of. But that fight was definitely one hell of a fight. Next was the Emerald Weapon. That fight can go die in a fire. I still to this day do not understand the swords, and I'm glad I got my Griever on my first kill. That was something that I never thought would ever happen to me. I rolled an 83, and I'm just so glad I had that luck, because I did not care for that fight at all. And the first part with the orbs, always go 2x2x2. Now the 4x4 thing was just a hot mess. So yeah, go with the 2x2 when you're doing it with the orbs. It makes the fight so much easier. And last but not least was Diamond Weapon. Diamond Weapon was an interesting one. I had an easy time doing that after I learned everything. The first time we did it, I had to quit for a week because the tank really pissed me off. I was trying to standard step before the fight, which you can do by standing in the corner, like the very crack of the corner. But don't fall off, though. That's what triggered my tank. I was trying to pre-standard step, and he goes, just stop trying to. You keep dying to everything in the damn fight, so it's a waste. And I'm like, well, sorry that I'm trying to learn the fight still. This is my first time with this. Like, who are you to tell me what to do? And then he makes us watch him solo Diamond Weapon at like the last 5 minutes. I was like, you want to see it in rage, but you're wasting our time. It's like, you're a dick. So I stopped for a week just because of that. And I came back, I learned to fight, and then I cleared it. Alright? The hardest thing for me was the knockback when he was in this dog form, and then the dashes, when to know when to go to the other side and when to stay where he was. The flood rays was the hardest thing for me, remembering 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5 has to replace 1, and 6 replaces 2, 7 replaces 3, and 8 replaces 4. That was a hard thing. The Party Finder made that so harder to do. It's like, no, if you have red numbers, go to the red side, or if you're on the red, you stay on the red side. If you're blue, basically the same thing. So I didn't need all this Party Finder bullcrap, because I knew exactly what to do. But that was the hardest thing, was the flood rays. And the towers, if you died when the towers were already up, one person missing the towers, the whole thing was a wipe, most of the time. If you die before the towers, then one tower is not going to spawn, which makes it a little bit easier to not wipe on it. I found that to be nice, but it was a pain in the ass when you die after the towers were up. So Diamond Weapon was one of my favorite fights, but it was one hell of a fight to go through. So the third thing I want to talk about is the characters of Shadowbringers. Now, I figure we should start with Emmett Sulk, since he was one of the focus points of this expansion. His goal was basically to get Zodiac released from his prison so that they can basically rebuild his world that he lost when the whole world was coming to an end, which you find out during the Dungeon of Amaurot. And in the end, when you are proven that you could not handle the light from the Light Wardens, he basically just like gave up on you. It's like, you're just nothing. You aren't my equal that I thought you were going to be, and you basically were just a failed experiment to him. But in the end, you end up feeling sorry for Emmett, because all he wanted was to get his friends back, his family that he lost all those years ago. So you end up feeling sorry for him. And the fact that he comes back to help you during the Seed of Sacrifice fight was jaw-dropping. I was like, we all couldn't believe that he came back just for that moment. And I thought that was pretty epic. But Emmett definitely was someone you can relate to as a villain, and that's very rare to see. So I definitely think he was a very, very good choice for this expansion, and he will be missed. Volturi, on the other hand, he was a fat double-lard. He was just over himself. He just didn't give a shit about anybody else but himself. He was basically coddled as a child, and he just grew up to be the Marshmallow Man. I enjoyed his temper tantrums when he basically was like told off, which I thought was hilarious. And then when we confront him, he's basically eating all of the Sin Eaters, which was basically the food that they give the people to basically turn them into mindless zombies. And he like just does an exorcist by just twisting his head around. I was like, whoa, that was like out of the blue. And then he kind of like sprouts these wings that barely could like pull anybody up, and he just ends up flying away to Mount Gold, which I thought was hilarious. Ranjit, I didn't really care for him. I'm glad that he is dead. I like his transformation, but as a villain, couldn't care less for him. Alphino and Alize. What can I say about the twins? Their sibling rivalry was definitely shown more in this expansion. It was hilarious. Alphino was hilarious towards the end when he's like, I had to swim the whole way, and he just basically just like plays dead on the beach, and Alize's just like trying to wake him up. I thought that was hilarious. Thancred and Reen, the whole father-daughter dynamic really was pretty good. I think Reen really needs to stop feeling sorry for herself, which I'm glad that she ends up like changing and has more resolve in the end. But their dynamic together was really, really good. Urianger was Urianger. He had his secrets that he kept until the very end of the expansion of the main story. I always enjoy his moments, his words of wisdom, and I always enjoy his plot twists in the end. The Exarch, sorry guys, but I wasn't a fan. I just didn't care for his righteousness of duty and all that. I did think he had good moments where he basically made the villains look like jokes, but in the end, we knew he was Grahatia. I didn't care for the Exarch. I felt nothing for him. But Grahatia from the source, that's a totally different story. I definitely enjoyed Grahatia from the source because he was more easily impressed, easily embarrassed, and he was very, very shy and timid, and I just loved that about him. Made him even cuter than ever before. So, Exarch, not so much. Source, Grahatia, definitely my favorite. Elidibus. That dude just didn't want to give up. He tried, and he tried, and he tried. But in the end, he failed. And I hate it that they made you feel sorry for him. And using Ardbert's body to make that happen, I thought that was a dirty move right there. And speaking on Ardbert, I really felt sorry for him. He was forced to stay behind, to be used to basically help us fight off the light that was consuming us. And having him rejoin with us was the pinnacle moment of the expansion, that we got to speak to Ardbert's voice, but we spoke for the very first time, and that was just the epic moment of the expansion. Next is the 24-man raid near Dark Apocalypse. That whole thing was a train wreck. It was something that I really wish they did not do. It's okay to put stuff like this in side content, but never in main content. I could not stand the whole raid as a whole. I get so unmotivated and so depressed going into those just so I can get my coins to upgrade my gear. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't give a shit about the near raid. Never do this again, Square Enix. Please, keep this crap to side content. The Copy Factory is the only one that I tolerated. The Breach and then the Puppet's Bunker, I hated. I could not stand them. I really couldn't. I'm not a Nier fan. The music in it was alright, but I just could not stand it as a 24-man raid. May we never have to do this ever again. The 8-man raid, Eden. I am a Final Fantasy VIII fan. It was my first Final Fantasy that I really played and enjoyed, so everything about it was nostalgic. The music was just pure joy. I really enjoyed it. The enemies was a reincarnation or reimagining of the primals. I really enjoyed them. The story was great with Metron and Logrith, the story between them. Metron becoming Eden because Ardbert and his friends blasted him with light, turning into the first Sin Eater, and Eden was the cause of the flood to begin with. I thought all that was just like amazing story. I really enjoyed the Eden. I really enjoyed the fights. Didn't really care for Eternity, where you basically fight Metron I just thought Reen part and all that was just so annoying. The intermission was so annoying, hearing her complaining about losing Gaia and her memories. Oy, that was just like, shut up already. And the whole ripping off the scene of Squall and Rinoa, that was pretty cool how they did that. The fairy or the voice inside Gaia was basically Matron the whole time. I thought that was pretty cool, but I'm glad that we resolved these two Ascians. And of course finding out that Gaia was supposed to be the heart of Zodiark, but Elidibus ended up taking the spot over that. So I thought the Eden raid was definitely the highlight of the raids in Shadowbringers, and I really enjoyed them. And last but not least, the story. Crafting and gathering I'll save maybe for another video. The story in Shadowbringers had me crying from start to finish, mostly because of the music, but the story was top notch. Above and beyond Stormblood. Heaven's Ward, I still have a toss-up if I think I liked Heaven's Ward just a little bit better because of the dragons and the Brood, Bahamut, Tiamat, Nidhogg, Erase Vagar, Ratatoskar, all of them. I think I would say I enjoyed Heaven's Ward just a little bit more than Shadowbringers. But the story of Shadowbringers was just amazing. Going and reversing the light and going to defeat each light warden one after another after another. I really enjoyed that type of storytelling. It's like it just made me feel something from previous video games where we basically go and kill off enemy after enemy after enemy. Kind of like Resident Evil, where you go and kill each enemy, like in 4, 7, and 8. I kind of enjoy that. We basically go and kill like bosses in certain areas. I really enjoyed that aspect of Shadowbringers. The whole splitting the sky open with darkness for the very first time was very cool. We really wish that we could have done that for every zone, but we ended up not doing it. Fighting Ranjit as Thancred, that was pretty cool. That was my first time with Gunbreaker. Now I basically like Gunbreaker now. I really had reservations about it. I really didn't know if I liked it or not. But getting it to 80 really made me enjoy it more, and it's by far my favorite tank of the expansion. So fighting Ranjit was fun. Glad he's dead. The Critique of Great Wood story, I really enjoyed the whole Indiana Jones type feel to it with like the Cursed Temple and all that. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really fun, very innovative, and I really wish that we can have more of that going forward. The Armorang section where you had the trolley and the Talos, I really found that to be kind of tedious. Maybe it's just me, but it's like we just did so much side crap just to get to the dungeon. It was just like, ugh, just get me through it already. And then the whole story with Magnus and his wife and his kid, and Reen just becoming like depressed and really wish she was dead and all. It's like really depressing, but I just like, just get me to the dungeon already and get this light warden taken care of already. So and like Armorang was like the story in Armorang, oh my god, Tesleen showing what happens to you when you turn into a Sin Eater was like, oh my god, this is like horror shit in Final Fantasy, and I was like, holy crap. And Ulrich just basically staring at her with no emotion because he's like no soul, because he's basically like turning into, or eventually going to be turning into a Sin Eater before he got saved. And knowing that they poisoned these people to save them from turning into a Sin Eater, really dark shit. And I was just like, holy crap. And then of course the story with Volfrey and the Sin Eaters, that was like, like I said, I really enjoyed the fact that we made Volfrey basically a tantrum man-child. It was hilarious, just like taking him down a peg. The story in Calusia with the making the giant Talos, really enjoyed that. That was pretty damn cool. The whole thing with Dulia and Chai News, the whole thing, they end up being like self-centered, and then they end up becoming like, they realized, oh my god, we were jerks the whole time, and then like Dulio, I think that's her name. She was a fan favorite. I can definitely tell from all the reactions from people that everybody loved her. I love the part that he was like, she basically was like squeezing her husband to death. I thought that was hilarious. But I would say the story was just phenomenal. And then with Arbert, with Seto, that was heartbreaking. Elizabeth taking Arbert's body to further his objective was pretty messed up. With Varys and Xenos and Gaius and Estinian, like, they single-handedly stopped the Black Rose from ever becoming a problem. So you kind of make yourself think, did we really have to take care of the first? In the end, yes you did, but that wouldn't have affected the source as what we thought, because basically Xenos coming back, killing his father, and stopping the Black Rose production, that was going to happen no matter what, because they gave Xenos the Revenant. And because he took the body of other people, he found out about Black Rose, which definitely didn't make him happy, because that would kill us. And Xenos finding us dead, not by his hand, pissed him off. So in the end, the Black Rose wasn't going to be a problem in the end. But the first still needed to be taken care of in the end. Now the whole thing with Fandaniel and Xenos, the fact that they took Asahi's body really was annoying, but the fact is that we are going to be able to kick his ass finally, since Tsukiyomi basically killed Asahi, or her brother. It's really cool that I'm hoping that we are able to kill Fandaniel, because using Bahamut like that, that was pretty messed up. You do not use Lord Bahamut in that way. And I'm so glad we killed Lunar Bahamut. I was hoping that we could do that like on a trial, but killing him at the end of Pagathon was pretty bittersweet. You know, we don't need a fake Bahamut, you know. And Estinian, or Nidhogg, basically rallied his sister, our sister, to stop feeling sorry for herself. You know, your children are being manipulated by Fandaniel and Xenos, and you're sitting here wallowing in self-pity while your children are being manipulated. And the fact that Nidhogg basically got her sister out of her self-pity was the prime of the 5.5 story. I really enjoyed the fact that we finally freed Tiamat, and she got her redemption for what happened to her and her brother and her children. I really thought that was a great redemption for her, and I'm really glad that they freed Tiamat. The whole thing with Arenvald, I mean, honestly, with all the Magitech stuff that we have, I'm pretty sure Sid can fix his legs, just like they can fix Raban's arm if they really wanted to. But I really thought that Arenvald was going to die after a Lunar Ifrit attacked him. I'm glad he's still alive. Fordola, she's rough around the edges, but you know, her redemption arc, her coming back to being helpful to redeem herself, it was okay. Then I don't really care for Fordola. I really wish she was dead. To be quite honest, she deserves to die after what she did. Xenos, I'm kind of glad he's back. I really want to kill him more than anything else. He killed himself in Stormblood, but I really wish that this time we get to kill him once and for all. For the story, I definitely give it a thumbs up. I still like Heaven's Word just a little bit better, but Shadowbringers definitely left me wanting more. And I'm just really glad how it ended. And I'm really looking forward to Endwalker and just unearthing and discovering more of the source in the coming expansions. Alright guys, so that is my thoughts about the Shadowbringers expansion. Alright guys, so that's pretty much going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this. Any comments, questions about anything, put them in the comment section down below. I'd be more than happy to help you guys out with any questions you might have. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're new for more Final Fantasy XIV content and join the First Brood. And as a reminder, hit that notification bell next to my subscribe button. This way you guys never miss an upload, and if you want, you can join my Discord server by going into the About section of my YouTube channel or hitting the world icon on my YouTube banner. Alright, so until next time, may forever walk in the glorious light of Lord Bahamut. Take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.